next one comes from Jules Burkhoff. In response to the death of the Kronos, a video I did in December 2021. And Jules writes, I don't think the Nautilus is a Kronos replacement. It's another repackaging of the same technology, creating space for a new high-end Korg workstation. When you look at all the engines Korg has, hard and software, they have a huge platform at their hands, and I agree with that. I think ModWave, Wave 6 and Op 6 show which direction the Korg high-end workstation will take. It's all about bringing the workflow back to a more hands-on approach. You all know I love hardware, and the hands-on approach is absolutely in agreement. In complete agreement with everything you've said, Jules. Nautilus is not a replacement, it is a holding pattern. I said in another comment, I think there's an upgrade from 32-bit to 64-bit. Somebody has commented and said, why do they need to upgrade? It's probably more to do with the hardware available than purely a software issue, I might add. And maybe there needs to be some updates to the DSP, because the DSP effectively is the same DSP that was sort of originally rolled out on the Oasis. I agree more engines are required to compete with Phantom. I have said it would be nice to see an emulation for specific keyboards, same concept Roland is using at the moment. And I said akin to the plug outs that Roland on the Roland platform. I also think your engine suggestions are great, and maybe if Korg are reading these comments, they may take note. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. I definitely will run out of voice before I finish this mailbag. The next question stroke comment comes from Stephen Anthony Thomas. And this is in response to the death of the Kronos, a video I did in December 2021. And Stephen writes, Kronos is deep, deep, deep. Full disclosure, I work at a music shop that sells both. The Nautilus is a very nice workstation, and I think they did a very good job making decisions on how to bring a great keyboard to market for just under $2,000. I mean, something had to go, i.e. the joystick on the Kronos is cool, but how often do you use it? Actually quite a lot for me, but hey-ho. My point is they pared down the RT controls but kept the most important aspects, which were 1. The sound engines, 2. The keyboard feel. Initially I thought dropping Karma was a big mistake, but the ARP is actually very good and intuitive. And I think you're spot on about the idea of using it in conjunction with a DAW. Kind of in the realms of reliability set versus VSTs, as well as a completely capable gigging keyboard. I haven't done a deep dive into all Nautilus yet, but initially the new sounds are excellent. This is what I've come away with so far, having been able to sell it. Well, the Kronos is still selling too, but man, at $3,200 for a 66 key, that is a lot. Reselling direct, I can see this being part of the sales model going forward. There is very little markup on these kind of instruments, no commission to really be made. Lots of valuable time spent with the customer who say, thanks, I'll just order it online. I suspect this is a big problem for the industry. Brick and mortar shops are becoming more like showrooms in this way, so selling direct is probably a very good idea. Anyway, that's my rant. Thanks for the video. If I hear any news of a Korg flagship from over this way, I'll let you know. So that was a really interesting viewpoint from somebody who has to sell these keyboards. I say has to because that's wrong. That's their job. They have to sell the keyboards, but actually selling the keyboards is probably more of a pleasure than a job. Before I dig a hole for myself, of course. This new keyboard has sparked a number of views and opinions, so it's interesting to get the various views on the Nautilus. It is also interesting to get views on the direct sales route. I fully get keyboards occupy a lot of retail floor space, but it appears retailers disappear. Then where do you go to try before you buy? This is a big problem. I think the direct channels needs to maintain the same sales price as the retail channels to ensure that we do not lose the music shops. When I started playing, there were far more retail shops and outlets and specialist retail outlets. Many will recall me mentioning Project Music, example of a specialist retailer. Oh God, I used to love Project Music. Anyway, I said I look forward to receiving the updates. Then Stephen writes back, I agree with you, read the retail channels. However, I would not be surprised if the main source of information for making such decisions were more influenced on the in-depth reviewers like yourself and in-depth demos like Loopop, and less based on sales knowledge like myself. I miss Project Music. Will review. Well, yeah. I mean, Project Music was a fantastic shop. It was all about the technology and how you implemented the technology to produce the final product. It wasn't about selling keyboards. Project Music. It was a really different ethos. Probably why it doesn't exist anymore. Especially as all people want to do is ship units. So I responded and I said, I know where we're going, influencers and reviewers, but it makes me sad, and it does make me sad, that there will be nowhere to go and try before you buy. The in-house retail technician's view is always worth taking into account, and on more than one occasion I've stopped before purchase to think about something that's been said by somebody in a shop who, quite often when you get into sort of the keyboard department of a good retailer, the guys who are sitting in there are experienced keyboard guys. They sit down and they play with these machines when the customers are not around, and they get up to speed with how the machine operates and how it works, and and their knowledge is invaluable. And on more than one occasion, they've stopped me buying a keyboard. I might have then continued to buy the keyboard, but they've stopped me buying a keyboard because of things that they've said. I used to use Project Music as an example of a place where I used to go in my younger days. Sadly, Project Music is no longer. Nowadays, my retail choice would be Anderton's in Guildford, purely on proximity to my studio. Or I might add also Absolute in Bournemouth is another good location to go and actually try before you buy. It's a big music store. It's more like a music warehouse, and those sort of environments are great for going and looking at the latest keyboard tech. I reminisce Project Music.